When Apple can earn the exact same money by selling iPhone at the same cost as it sells in US or Nigeria, for God's sake, why should we live in a world where a software developer who's working on an iOS app gets paid, say, 3 times or 4 times just because that person would be in, say, Silicon Valley and not in, when compared to somebody in Nigeria? I think that is so unfair. The problem starts when, that is expected out of you once a week or more, right? I think that is crazy. That's not sustainable at all. I'm so happy it's not even considered cool anymore. So yeah, I mean, that was quite toxic.
So what you're okay. First of all, I think you're overtraining. Okay, you're clocking 50 plus a week, right?
Yes.
And you only need to run 21.
I know. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So, but it keeps you fit, right?
It keeps me fit. I mean, so it all started as my endeavor towards weight loss, right? And also the way I was doing weight loss prior to this, right, was primarily cutting out my food, right? Of course, a major component of any weight loss has to include, checking your calories, right? But I think I was doing a bit too much on that, right? And not concentrating more on maybe working out and stuff. Now I can't do that. Now I got to eat, so I'm able to run 15 Ks every day. Right, but I still try to manage the numbers. I'm still like I'm quite methodical about it, right? So it's pretty much calories in minus calories out. So what's the net figure and stuff.
For those of you who are just joining us, thank you so much for joining the Epic Podcast, Edric Pony Company, where anybody can inspire everybody. And of course, today we have Buta Singh, and he is the man behind Workfall. Oh, Buta, I think for your business, right, I love the tag of what you've been doing. Now, we'll get back into the fitness bit in a little bit. Okay, but about what you do, I love your tag, which is basically find kick-ass coders in 24 hours. Dare I say, or less?
No, that's exactly what it is. And first things first, thanks a lot, Edric. Thanks for having me. And I know we've been trying to do this for a long time now, but finally...
Sorry, man, I got sick, so I had to delay on you. I'm so sorry about that.
Perfectly fine. But I'm so happy we're finally able to do it, right? So yes, I mean, that's pretty much, in a nutshell, that's pretty much what we do at Workfall, right? Help companies hire these really top-end, kick-ass guys in the shortest possible time. That's what we do, and that's what we exist to do, honestly.
When we were actually planning to do this podcast, there were a few key things that I really, really wanted to find out. And the first one is, why is there a need to actually find these kick-ass coders? I mean, aren't companies already able to find them quite easily? I mean, the tech industry is so big, and I would assume that people have their ears to the ground and they already know who's who. So why Workfall?
Yeah, not really, right? So as big as the industry is, certainly, right, and as and as big as the demand also is, no question, there is still a huge gap between what the industry needs and the supply, right? So when I say supply, I mean supply of a certain quality. People who are able to work at a certain caliber, they're just not there. If you were to put out, say, a LinkedIn post where you want to hire, say, a JavaScript developer or something, you're going to get, 100 applications maybe in just a few hours. But the question really is, how many of them are actually good enough to work for you? Right? And, oh my God, you could check this with any recruiter, any HR working in any company. The amount of time and money and effort that they put in actually filtering that. It's quite normal for a mid-sized company to get more than 1,000 applicants in a single day. Of course, you've got your automated ATS systems and whatnot, right, which try to filter the applications using tools and stuff, right, which obviously are not very accurate. And then there's no way any system is going to do that perfectly for you, right? So that's where we come in. We approach any company who's looking to hire software engineers, and we go and tell them, we've got this pre-vetted pool of software engineers, and we've done the hard work. We have done the stringent vetting. We've done the coding rounds and personal assessments and background checks and whatnot. And there you go. These guys are available to work for you. How about that? So compare your 2 to 3 months of all the money and time and effort that you put in versus somebody who is ready to start off, who has been pre-vetted already,
right,
and ready to start off immediately.
What is the real difference between, it sounds like it's recruitment for specifically coders, developers, or anybody within the tech industry. My question is, what difference is it for, let's say, a marketing job or a sales job as compared to coders? Why does it need to have this special funnel that you're looking at?
So where Workfall comes in is where you're only looking for seniors, where you're only looking for people who are maybe architects, right, or team leads or tech leads. Now at that level, it's very difficult. And the difficulty starts with just the supply, really, just the numbers, right? There are just not enough good people out there in the market. There are millions, there are like 25 million software engineers, software developers.
25 million?
25 million in the world, right? And the number grows. But how many of them are actually good enough to become your architects, to become your tech designers, to become your tech leads? That's the question, really, right? And HRs, recruiters, in all companies, big or small, spend a lot of time and effort doing that, right? So that's where we want to come in and help, right? And vetting these kind of people is, again, not easy. Imagine putting somebody through multiple interviews. There's always a subjectivity which comes in, right? So how do we break all that, right? We are very clear in the way we do our interviews. It's pretty much hands-on, share your screen and code in front of me kind of interviews, right? So we don't talk as much as we code, right? So we don't want somebody to come in just because they have like a heavy CV, just because they've got like 15 years of experience working in the top industries, the top companies and all that. And we're like, fine, all that's good, but can you code? Right. So, and
have there been a lot of fake CVs coming through, or at least, I'm sorry, I won't say fake. Sorry, pardon me. Inflated, exaggerated, embellished.
Call it fake, right? Absolutely, so many of them, right? In fact, on an average, our acceptance ratio is something like 3.5%, which is crazy, right?
Right. So that's very interesting that you're bringing that up, because now you really have a real world so-called examination for entry, and you're basically building your pool of talent through this. And I would assume that by understanding their coding, their so-called their proficiency in coding, you do have a grading system of some sort, right?
We do. So we have like So we have like a set of parameters, almost like 13, 14 parameters on which we grade them, right? And each parameter, again, has got its own weighted average and stuff, right? So that's how we try to make it very, very objective. And we have like 2 rounds, double-blind rounds of interviews, right? So the first interviewer has no idea of who the second interviewer would be, and vice versa, right? And the second guy would not even know the outcome of the first interview and stuff. The first interviewer could be in, say, Singapore. The second interview could be in India or in Peru or in Argentina, pretty much any country in the world, right? So they're like no way connected to each other. It's as double blind as it can get.
What I found very peculiar about the offerings of Workfall is that it's not just you, it's the industry asking for 3, 6, 8 or 12-month contracts, whereas maybe it's because I come from a time whereby I'm still thinking, okay, I'm gonna try and hold a job for 3, 4 or more years, right, to so-called build my CV. That's the mentality. But now here it is. It's very project driven. When do you think this shift really happened? I could never understand how the security, I would say, of a full-time job can be thrown out the window, and now it's like, hey, I'm just gonna do a thing for 3 months, and then I'm gonna hope to God there's gonna be another one in 6 months, you know?
Yeah, good question. But again, this has been happening for some time now. It's not new at all, right?
It's not because of COVID, right?
No, not at all, right? Of course, COVID would have accentuated all of this, but it's not because of COVID. I think the relationship between employees, between people and their jobs has changed so much over the years. Back in the day, I mean, say 15, 20 years back, what seemed like a stable career, right? Now your job is, even if you're not getting into a contractual engagement like this, a so-called stable job is only as stable as your notice period, right? If you think about it, right? I mean, there's no lock-in anyways, even your regular employment. Now, as oppose that to being a bit more honest and open about it, and then also throw in the fact that we're talking only about seniors here, not the juniors or people who are like less than 5. These are not your average lot, especially, right? People who are maybe in the top 3, 4, 5 percentile of their industry, right? So yes, such people would love to not work as employees of anyone, right? But certainly want to contract as, equal individuals. So it's pretty much, more than working for you, it's more like I'm going to work with you on a contract, and I get paid a fair compensation for my services. And there is a transparency. So the level of respect that you get when you engage like this is way more when compared to the other option, which is work in a very opaque environment where you do not even know what the end client is paying for your services, right? Because what you get is like a fixed low salary. And then one fine day you get shocked when you actually realize that what the client is actually paying is maybe 3 times of what your salary would be. people are just much more aware now, right? And also the fact that companies like Workfall exist, which make all that engagement so much more easier. It's not that people did not know this, say, 10 years back. But 10 years back, you didn't have, people were just not so conducive, or maybe they thought it's like a too big a risk to directly work with a Silicon Valley client sitting in India. But now they've got avenues like Workfall.
Did you personally, as a coder, have this rock star dream of, I want to be in, Microsoft or Google, or I want to be in Silicon Valley? What was it for you?
I think every coder has that dream, right? No doubt. Even today, if you ask, say, majority of coders would love to work in any of these big tech companies, right? And that's always there. Obviously, not even 1% of them actually going to get through. What next? The next cool thing is to work in startups.
Interesting that you brought that up. Why is it like the next cool thing to work in a startup? What's sexy about the startup? I mean, I understand it to an extent, but for a coder, I don't quite understand.
Pretty much every damn thing, right? And what is sad is, a major answer to your question actually comes from how bad things are in a big enterprise. Now, I'm not saying every enterprise is bad or something, but in general, as a coder, you would be spending so much more time in actually coding if you would be in a startup, right? When compared to writing emails, when compared to writing documents, when compared to just getting into meetings and wasting time, and compared to doing pretty much everything except coding. I think that's reason number one. And then secondly, it's how quick things work in a startup as opposed to how slow they would be in a big enterprise. Could be anything at all, right? Maybe I need access to a server and I want to test something on that server. Now, in a startup, it's pretty much me who's controlling my servers, or if not me, somebody else, and I could maybe just send a quick message to them over Slack or whatever, and then I get that access to that server. Now, in a big enterprise, in a big bank, for example, you cannot do that. Now, I'm not saying it's good or bad. Certainly, every big enterprise is going to have its own security protocols and whatnot. But looking at it agnostically, looking at it purely from my, as a coder's perspective, right? I got to write like 20 emails to the infra security team, right, to give me access or grant me access to that server. And then that team is going to have its own L1, L2, L3 levels of approvals, right? And then it's going to take, 15, 20 days.
Just before you can even do your test.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So, and there's just one small example.
Right.
And then also throw in the fact that in a startup, you have much more flexibility in using the technologies that you want, right? You could experiment with cutting edge stuff. And in a big enterprise, obviously, there's no way you could do it.
It's true. You don't have the limitations of the systems or the bureaucracy. Apart from Workfall and the things that you're doing right now, we were having a conversation earlier on about your own fitness journey, which, to be honest, right?
You really want to talk about this?
I do, absolutely. Because, you see, this to me, right, is actually very peculiar because, now let's put it this way, stereotypically.
I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, right? Coders or developers or people who are very much in tech are so fixed on the screens. It's very rare that they go out and, they don't see the light of day. I don't even know whether they get moonlight, let alone the light of day. And you're training to do a half marathon. I would love to hear more about your fitness journey at this point.
You're so right. And no offense taken at all, right? Because that's a sad reality. A lot of us, every one of us actually, us meaning people in software, spend a lot of time on screen, spend a lot of time on our laptops and on our mobile. Pretty much everyone, I guess, not just coders, right? Pretty much everybody. And also couple that with our food habits, right? So I'm an Indian, and Indian food can get as tasty and lovely as it is, and I totally adore my food. It's also not a good chunk of Indian food is obviously not the healthiest either, right? So you cannot pretty much a lot of stuff is like deep fried and stuff, right? So it doesn't take any effort to actually put on excess flab and stuff. So my first motivation was just to maybe get in shape, get a little healthy. What I realized was it was a good thing to do, of course. When you try to lose weight, when you try to cut down on your calories, you become very methodical in calculating the calories you eat. And then, also track the calories which you burn, and then have the net figure in whatever range you want it to be before
you went down the rabbit hole.
Absolutely. And I came across this opportunity to run a half marathon, right? Now I have like a better reason, maybe a good purpose to actually do this. And also it's not blindly tracking calories anymore, right? Because so whenever I do run, I try to run for 15 kilometers. There's no way I can run 15 kilometers without eating healthy, right? So it's not just blind weight loss as it was earlier. That is something which I found really interesting. Starting April, I've got half marathons pretty much every month this year.
prior to when you were a little, I would say, running less. Yeah. Okay. When you were heavier, right?
Fat. Let's put it as it is.
Okay. Yeah. Well, how has that changed in terms of your own mental state now?
So much so, right? I mean, it just makes you more confident in pretty much everything else as well, right? It's not just about...
For frame of reference, how fat were you?
All right. I was like 93 at my peak.
93?
3 kilos at my peak.
Okay.
Right? Now I'm like 75.
Wow.
I'm targeting to reach around 70 or so. Because the leaner you are, the quicker you're going to run. As simple as that, right? Going back to the question, right? So it helps you in so many ways, which is not just health related. Right, I think that's the halo effect that this thing has on pretty much everything else in life. When you finish a 1 hour run on the treadmill, or when you finish, when I finish my 15K track, it's literally dopamine, right? The same thing, the same stuff goes on your mind, goes in your brain, as if you're like heavily drunk, right? And listening to your favorite music and you start dancing, right? It's pretty much the same feeling after or even during the run, and that has a positive impact on. That this extrapolates to pretty much everything.
Right, you're talking about the effects of ketosis, right? Just basically your body eating itself.
Absolutely.
Which is basically it, and that's what makes you the runner's high, right? They call
the runner's
it.
high, absolutely.
Yeah, which is really it's there, but you gotta go for quite a while before you actually do that. You're basically emptying the tank, and then your body starts eating into its reserves.
It's crazy because I start hitting that just like midway through my run. Right.
At 7?
Yeah.
Really?
So, yeah.
Wow.
So my last, if I'm running for like 2 hours, my last hour, so the first hour is obviously very difficult to know. I think the entire 2 hours is difficult. Right. That's not the point. It's ridiculously difficult, and you got to push yourself. But yeah, the high part of it kicks in at around 1 hour mark.
I heard this from David Goggins a while back, and I want to ask you the same question. There are mornings that you don't feel like running.
Yep.
But you made that commitment. And you got to stare at your shoes and you go, I gotta do this, right? How do you overcome that?
Not easy. I'm still struggling with that, to be very honest. You just have to push through, man. I mean, there's I wish I could, I wish they were like, do these 3 things and you could do it. It doesn't work like that. There are no such 3 things, right? I think what works for me, or at least in my case, what's been pushing me is having that deadline. Because I've registered for those half marathons, I better be, better be in a position to be able to run them. And then, I think what's important is to just show up. Your pace does not matter. Your distance does not matter. Nothing matters. What matters is, did you put your sneakers on? Did you put your shoes on? Did you step out of the home? Break it into small parts. Your first part is just getting up, first of all. Right? And the second goal is to make sure that you're putting the shoes on and just get out of your home. The moment you get out of your home, you start running. And then even while running, right, first 2, 3, 4, 5 kilometers, like so very difficult, right? And can we do just like 1 more kilometer, 1 more K, 1 more K, 1 more K? Eventually, Ks after Ks, you reach 7, 8K, which that's like my favorite part of where I start getting the high that we're talking about, right? And then it's 10, 12, and then after 12 it starts hitting again. Can I do 1 more? 13? Can I do 1 more? 14? 1. So yeah, I don't think the big picture itself can be so motivating when you're trying to push yourself, when you have all the reasons to just go back into bed. It's literally just one small thing at a time. I think that helps.
No, I love that advice. Because at the end of the day, it's not about trying to complete it, because that mental chatter that we have. Some days, like when I'm working out, I'm just like, I'm gonna do 200, 300 reps of this thing, and then the other day is just like, I'm gonna do 200, 300 reps, or maybe, right? So it's the same dialogue, but somehow or other the motivation is so different. From what you're saying, actually, the more active you are on screen, the more active you should be off the screen.
Absolutely, can't agree more, right?
All this whole wellness talk, right? It was really going through my mind. I was actually wondering, what are companies getting wrong with the whole wellness thing, especially for the IT or the tech side of things? Because you can't force them to go for yoga. They're remote. Not everybody wants to wake up and do stuff at ungodly hours, right? If let's say, for example, you're in Europe and here we are in Singapore or APAC, time differences are there and everybody's supposed to get up to do something. What do you think companies can do to kind of implement a wellness system that could get coders moving?
So till now, or maybe till a few years back, the focus was on the technical aspects of everything, right? So even if you talk about yoga, even if you talk about, say, fitness or whatever, they would get in a yoga expert or a fitness expert or whatever, right? And again, don't get me wrong, they are so very important, right? But I think it's just last few years, and again, the pandemic, of course, had a big reason to play in this. Now is where companies are actually investing in psychologists. They're actually investing in, people who are experts at talking only to other people, right? And that is so important. And we're not good at that. I don't think I'm great at talking with people.
What we talked about that time around, right, was that how do you manage your remote teams? And you have cameras on celebrations and stuff like that every week, right?
It's like,
So it's so important for everybody to see each other. Do you think that you're ever going to get your teams to just come down from all over the world for a Workfall town hall or conference?
Hope so. I mean, I certainly love that. Who wouldn't, right? I've got teams in Philippines, in India, Peru, South America. My co-founder, she sits in Qatar, right? So I try to meet as many people as I can. I have not yet been to Peru, of course, right? But again, given where we are, right, there's only so much that we can do. So yes, I mean, we keep the cameras on. We have like an unwind session every last Friday of every month. Obviously, it's so much more restricted when compared to having people together, and then you could do whatnot. The larger point is engaging with your employees for non-official work, for non-official stuff. That is so important. That's how you're actually building a relationship. It's so easy to lose track of relationships, even in a non-remote environment, right? Forget about where your team is like spread out in 7 different countries. So we make a conscious attempt to make sure that we're connecting and talking about non-official work, talking about your personal life, and we're talking about just the weather, if not anything else.
If I may ask almost a personal question, we're doing this for our people a lot of the time. How do you do it for yourself?
There are times when you're just not there, right? As you said, right? When it's it's so similar to. So yeah, I think there's where I take inspiration, right, from all my running and pretty much everything. Break it down one step at a time. Obviously every day is not going to be perfect. So maybe prioritize. Maybe do only those 2 things which are like critical and very important. Anything that can be parked for tomorrow, day after, sure, do it, right? But somehow show up, right? Do at least like one small thing. Maybe that one small thing is going to motivate you to do the next smaller thing.
Are you like a big proponent of the hustle culture thing? 18 hours a day, bang, 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 bang kind of thing?
I'll be honest, I used to be. Yeah. So I think pretty much everyone from a startup background would work like that. Even today, I'll be honest, right? There are times when you definitely have to do it.
But you don't choose to. It's because you really have to.
So what happens is, once or twice a month is still okay.
Okay.
Right? The problem starts when, that is expected out of you once a week. Or more, right? I think that is crazy. That's not sustainable at all. I'm so happy it's not even considered cool anymore. So yeah, I mean, that was quite toxic.
You're very unabashed about saying all these things. It's as though you've gotten past the phase of guilt.
Oh yeah.
How do you not feel guilty about something like that? I'm very certain that all entrepreneurs will feel it, but somehow or other you've developed a coping mechanism to get past it. Because there are some days that I don't feel like doing certain things. I mean, I love podcasting so much. There are days where I'm just like, wow, it's a lot of work at the end of it to do all that by yourself in post. But I still want to do it. I still want to learn. But there are days that I just go, maybe tomorrow. And I feel guilty after that.
Sure, yeah. I mean, so, but again, the thing is, I don't know, honestly. I mean, I think we just made that way. I think the guilt of not doing is even worse, I guess.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. If you get it done, you just feel angry maybe or resentful, but you don't feel guilty.
So I think that's how it is. I think
it's really interesting now I think about it. It's kind of like if I don't do it, I get angry with myself.
It's gonna be
if I do it, I have the opportunity to get angry at other people.
That's one way to put it, yeah.
You've done so much work in this line. You're putting in hours and hours to help more coders get equal pay around the world, right? What's your big vision that you can finally go, Workfall, we've made it?
All right. So the big vision, more like a dream to be very honest, is to is to have like a borderless world when it comes to, tech employment, right? Where your location, your geography, your country, your passport does not matter at all, right? Because if you think about it, the cost of an iPhone is the same in Nigeria as it is in India, as it is in Singapore or America, wherever in the world. The actual price might differ because the taxation is different in every country. But the cost of any such product, right, is the same. When Apple can earn the exact same money by selling iPhone at the same cost as it sells in US or Nigeria, for God's sake, why should we live in a world where a software developer who's working on an iOS app gets paid, say, 3 times or 4 times just because that person would be in, say, Silicon Valley and not in, when compared to somebody in Nigeria? I think that is so unfair. That does not make sense at all, especially in the kind of service that you're delivering, right? Because if the kind of service that I'm delivering is pure software only, right? It's iOS, Swift or Objective-C, whatever language, whatever technologies. It's pure software code that I'm delivering, working on a laptop, working on a system. It shouldn't matter whether I'm on the moon or on Mount Everest or Nigeria or Singapore or Philippines or wherever, right? You pay me for my code. You do not pay me for my nationality or, which country I'm sitting in, all of that, right? I think that is ridiculous, at least in this day and age, to think of, linking your pay to your country is crazy. That's a big dream, really.
Cool. I think I just got the intro clip from that, so that's fantastic. We spent an hour just chatting about all sorts of things, from the humble beginnings of Workfall, what it's all about, to you running from your problems, basically. I used to say that all the time as well. You're running from your problems, getting fitter, hoping that, of course, I believe that developers, coders, should get fit as well. Maybe you could set up a community called Clicks for Coders or something like that. It's as cheesy as that, whatever. But you start a running club with all of them, and for all you know, you got a movement going on. Again, thank you so much for spending an hour with me. Before we finish the podcast, we always ask a standard 10 questionnaire, rapid fire, with all our guests. All right. So, Buta, are you ready?
Oh yeah, I'll try to do my best.
All right. So, question 1, one word that you love the most.
Off-late running, yeah.
Okay. One word that you really, really dislike.
Work-life balance. I know that's 3 words, but I know we can talk a lot about it. It's not rapid fire at all.
Work-life balance. Okay. If you could have a conversation with one person, dead or alive, fictional, non-fictional, who would that be?
Interesting. Oh God. Maybe LKY. Oh yeah.
What do you say to yourself in the mirror every morning?
Oh, good morning.
It's good.
I know that's cheesy. That's cheesy, but again,
it works. If it really is the case. I've had a guest that says I don't even have a mirror.
Oh yeah, that's even better. Well, honestly, I just check my weight.
Oh, okay. Name one superpower that you'd like to have.
I think talking right. I wish I could talk more and talk right. Yeah. Should I correct it? It's supposed to be listening right and listening more. Yeah.
It works both ways.
But works both ways. I can talk well. Yeah, I can talk well only when I listen well. Sure.
Okay. A favorite dish to eat.
I don't know whether you know this, but there's something called chola bhatura in India.
Which is that? What's that?
It's pretty much a chickpea curry, and it's had with like puris, right? So I don't know if you know puri.
Puri, yeah. And normally you have it in breakfast, right?
Oh yeah, right. So you can have it anytime. So puri, imagine puri, but 3 times the size. So
good Lord.
That's
okay.
a bhatura.
Now I'm getting hungry. Okay.
Yeah.
So we need to go eat. You need to bring me around to go eat. That's for sure.
As unhealthy as it gets. Yeah.
Sorry. The last place that I tend to go to, or some of my army friends actually introduced me to this place called Karu's.
All right.
Which is probably like my favorite place right now to go to. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. All right. Favorite travel spot?
I have not been to Iceland yet.
But you want to go?
Oh yeah, we've been planning for it for a long time now, and yeah, hopefully sometime soon.
Okay, Iceland it is. Something in the arts that you've always wanted to do but yet to do so.
In the arts, is it? Oh God.
I mean, you play the drums.
I do
right?
play the. I'm more of an enthusiast. I'm not like so good at it, but yeah, I think getting better at what I'm already doing in music.
What, you want to do a concert?
No, again, that's the point, right? One step at a time. So okay. I just want to get a little better
cool.
at playing drums.
Got it. All right. What does retirement look like to you?
Retirement? No, I don't think I'm ever going to retire, to be honest. I can't imagine a life where I get up and there's nothing to do, nothing from a professional point of view, right? So hopefully I'll never retire.
And what's your legacy? How do you want to be remembered?
Oh God, that's difficult. I'm just a kid. Come on, right? That's such a deep question, right? I know it's supposed to be a rapid fire, but I don't know if I could have at least one person who talks good about me behind my back, maybe. I don't know. just one person, right? Hopefully more. I don't know if I can relate it to Workfall. If I could. So we're already, getting people jobs in the global south, as I call it, right? In developing countries, we're getting them jobs 2 to 3 times of what they would normally be earning by working for a local company. I don't know if I want to be remembered for this. I don't know, honestly.
Thanks so much again for spending an hour on the podcast together with me and all those who are listening. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, how can they do so? Are you on LinkedIn, Instagram, or whatever?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Insta as well, but I'm certainly much more active on LinkedIn. Right, so send me a hi. I'd love to get into a call with you. Love to learn from pretty much anyone and everyone.
Right, and do check out Workfall. Just Google them. You'll find them, okay? And again, they have those needs that you're looking for in terms of recruitment, for developers, for your coders, or if you want a kick-ass team, just look for Workfall. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Adric. It was an absolute pleasure. Thanks a lot once again.
Thanks, man. Okay, and we are done.
Thank you.
That was good. That was fun.
Was it? Really?
Yeah.